Okay. All right. Now we'll do the share again. Okay. There you go.
Okay, you've seen this picture before, okay? I want to try to make a few things clear and we'll discuss everything, okay? Some of us agree and some don't, okay? Negative space is not an easy topic to discuss. A lot of subjective uh, conceptions, ideas go into it, really. Anne and I met for hours discussing this. And then we both did more research and we both realized we, uh, we learned from the research. And I even sent this picture to Adrian today, and we discussed that also. Let me just tell you what Adrian wrote back to me. I have your word. I have your words.
You didn't ask for permission to quote me.
Oh, go away. Go away.
Can't wait. Can't
Okay. Anne and I, and Anne, I'll talk for you for a second, feel this is a demonstration, example of negative space. A lot of you may say to me that the concrete, whatever, is too busy. It's taking your eye away from the positive, which I understand, which I do. Adrian wrote, I think the concrete is negative space. It contributes and is not its own subject, but you could argue that it is its own subject. That's what I meant by it's open to interpretation. Okay, I see this just to review fast. Uh, that this concrete really enhances this picture. It takes your eyes into this beautiful face, and it does what negative space should do. It surrounds the picture also. Could you say to me that the concrete is disturbing, distracting? Sure, you could. That's your opinion. This is my opinion. Okay, let's see what's doing. Keep that in mind, please.
May I speak?
Please, please.
Okay. And because I've looked at this picture so often,
I know.
one of the definitions of negative space, and if you keep reading, there's a numerous definitions out there, but it becomes kind of clear in an understanding this way. Your eye sometimes gets drawn to the negative space, which then leads you to the subject, which is the positive object or the positive subject matter. It is not, negative doesn't mean bad. Negative isn't something, it's background, but negative space, what it does is it can be used to create mood, depth, emotion, simplicity, but all of it should basically work in a way that complements and brings the eye eventually to the focal point, which is the eyes and the face. The first thing you see when you look at this is the texture surrounding that face, and it sets off the face, which is the focal point. And the focal point is not the brick or the texture around it, but the texture is what gives you a sense of depth. So you realize that the face is coming up from underneath the concrete, underneath those stones, underneath the texture. It's like the face is buried and peering throughout. That's what negative space in this case does. So it enhances the positive, which is the focal point, which is the subject matter. That's how I see this.
Exactly
May I
right.
comment?
Here we go. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I think everything that Anne has said proves my point that this is positive space. Everything in those bricks, everything around this space, the depth that it gives indicates to me that it is definitely part and parcel of this image. That the only way that you could make this into negative space, and I suggested this to Harv with two different ways. One is to tone down the brightness and the clarity of his so-called negative space, or turn it into a light to medium gray, and that would accentuate the space. Still bring your eye in, still bring your eye to the center, still bring your eyes to this lady's eyes and work there. And to me, this is a positive space. Now, having said that,
Go ahead.
when we first started this session last time, I put up a gray image. And the gray image was partially to signify minimalism, but it was also partially to signify that over the 50 or so years that both minimalism and negative space have existed, almost no one agrees. For example, this is a problem in painting, in architecture, in sculpture. So the sculpture people simply said, there's no such thing as two-dimensional negative space or minimalism.
That's
So
right.
yes, I can definitely see Anne and Harv's point, but in my particular case, I think that the image is so enhanced by the side pieces that it's no longer negative. It's definitely part of the
So
image.
you're saying in essence, in your view, Carl, that the texture around the outside, the stonework, that is part of the focal point.
Correct.
Okay, so let me say this to everybody, because I think it makes it a little bit easier when we're looking at most things. When you look at graphic art, okay, it becomes more difficult because of all those lines and leading lines and triangles and whatever else, and everything seems to play a part where you're not quite sure where the focal point is. You know, it leads you someplace, but separating out the graphic art, because most of us aren't shooting that way. If you're looking at most subjects, if you look at the subject and make that in your mind as the focal point, and let's not talk positive, let's just talk focal point, and then look at what surrounds the focal point. Does what's around in the background, in between, outside, does it bring us to the focal point in a way that accentuates and brings you positively better into the focal point? I think that's what you have to look. It's kind of like what's in and what's out. When you put the camera up to your face, what do you really want in it? Is the color right? Is the background distracting? Does it create depth, mood, simplicity? You look and you decide that what you want in it works with your focal point, or it doesn't, or you move your body around, or you move your focal point to a different point. But the whole thing is about background and what's around the focal point. And that to me is the easiest way for most people to comprehend what we're saying.
I'm so happy you all heard Anne and Carl. That's what we've been going through. It's real. I mean, for months.
Now, Harvey,
Months. Yes,
Harvey,
sir.
Harvey, I haven't spoken
Go.
just simply because this is the first time in 25 years at Valencia Falls
20.
that we have, on a review session, had a presentation. Period.
It was an explanation. We're going on here.
That's a presentation. And the reason for that is that whatever side you're on a sophisticated level, you're going to be on other sides on a simple level, on any topic, and particularly this topic. On a simple level, you're going to be on the simple side, knowing the difference between negative space and not negative space, and minimalism and not minimalism. In a group of people that includes, not all of us are here, that includes beginners to master's degree people, it's incumbent upon the presenter, and certainly I have to remember this, which I don't often, that the simplest definition for educational purposes is pertinent before you get to the sophisticated level. And in most sophisticated levels on any topic, you have hypotheses on one side or another, or opinions on one side or another from experts. And we are not experts. And when we read experts for a mixed group such as this, and try to argue that point, for me, that is not an educational experience, because to have Harvey on one side and Carl saying about this picture something else doesn't deny what Anne has been saying. But at this level, it's not a pertinent, and for me, not a good lesson, because there are too many ifs. It's too dense, it's too shady, it's not shady enough, it's really bokeh, it's background, etc., etc. This is not pertinent for this type of a group.
I disagree.
I disagree also.
Yeah, I think
Why?
that all of us can know what the simple definition is. You could read it any place. We had articles that you could read before this, and most of us have been to classes on this before. So it's not like some heavy duty esoteric thing. And I enjoy hearing and can discern for myself what people are saying when they are disagreeing. So I like to hear the disagreements. And maybe I'll make up my own mind, or maybe I'll just assume it's got lots of answers. And I think that's part of the interest of it.
Agreed.
Certainly it's made us think. It's made us all think and all critically start to really look at this maybe somewhat differently. I mean, I went home from Harvard and I was so confused. I went back over definitions. I went back over pictures. I studied pictures for hours because I couldn't get a handle on the totality of it because it is complex. There's a simplicity about it, but as Herb said, when you move on to some of these types of pictures and whatever else, or some of the graphic type presentations, it's difficult. It really is.
Adrian, go ahead, Adrian.
What I
Go
was
on.
going to say is, why don't we look at some of the images that
Right.
people sent in and see what people learned or didn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Adrian, Sheila commented that one of the basic reasons for this minimalism and negative space is to teach you how, or encourage you how to compose a picture, how to look through that viewfinder,
Correct.
what to look for, what aperture to consider, what focal length to consider. Anne said all of those things. They
Yeah.
all work.
Right. And what to include and what to exclude.
Exactly.
What's in and
Correct.
what's out. Yeah,
Okay.
here we go. Here we go.
Adrian, how do you do this? Just people will comment, correct?
Yes.
Okay, go
Or,
comment.
or the two of you could comment, or three of you. Michelle is on, just so you know.
Oh,
Yes,
good, Michelle.
sorry, I was late.
That's okay. That, based on what you taught us, we went back to our archives, or some people actually shot stuff, new stuff. You guys can comment and then others can comment.
Carl, you want to speak about blank space, please?
Well, there's both negative space and just space. Negative space, in my opinion, has to in some way enhance the photograph that is there versus space that is just simply there and is part of the picture, as we will see in some other ones. But in this case, Harv, I might say that this is negative space.
I
There
agree.
is enough information within that space, especially in the bottom part,
Absolutely.
the bottom and the bottom third, that this is definite negative space that encourages you to look at the left-hand side of the picture where the flower is. It's also a perfect example of minimalism.
I have a question.
That was my
The
Yeah.
question- And it's one for Carl to just clarify things in my mind. Let's just take this whole area of negative of the gray that we're seeing here. And look at the gray that is in the background right behind the flowers. Would you agree that that's part of the negative space?
Yes.
Okay,
Tell me why you might not, for the way you answered.
I definitely do. To me,
Okay,
it's
okay,
whatever the
good.
background is surrounding the flower and the focal point. Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
I think you could crop off 1/3 of the white and still have a nice photograph with a lot of negative space.
Absolutely. Yep.
But interesting enough, that's part of the definition of negative space that Anne also came up with spaces that you can move and use up some of that negative space without losing that negative space.
Just what you said, Doris. Yes. If you can crop off some and not lose the positive, shall we say, or the negative. Yeah, that's a good point. If you can crop off some. Adrian, okay?
Okay.
I talked to Judy and Jeannie, so this is the story. I'm sorry.
All right, get you. Sorry.
Just start. Whoever. Doris?
Me?
Yeah, why not?
I don't have a comment.
Okay. Do you guys think it's negative space? And is it appropriate? And
It's negative. So artistic. No.
yeah,
Can I say something here since it's my picture? Every picture that you take, and almost every picture that you take, there is negative space.
Right.
right,
Okay. The focal point here is the bird.
right.
Okay. The focal point is the bird and the reflection underneath the bird. Is part of that focal point, part of your interest, part of the positive space. Everything else around that bird, which is the background and the bokeh, is negative space. Question is there too much? Is it too little? Does it give the bird the right sense of dimension? Is it distracting, or is it basically pleasing, and does it set a mood? Does it set something where it sets the bird in a special environment that's complementary? to
And,
the bird?
and I would appreciate this bird. It's a beautiful bird. It's a great picture. I mean, it's an attract. I could look at this bird all day
But you
long.
don't like the background. Okay.
No, forget the background for the moment. I was going to say, if you moved it to the left, which is what I'm used to in terms of negative space, if you moved it to the left and had all that space on the right, then I might, with all of the bubbles in the background, might consider it negative space. It's a debater's point.
Herb, can I comment
No
on
way
that?
you move that bird to the left.
The
If
right.
anything, you move it to the right.
To the right.
No, don't move it to the right because the bird needs place to go.
Right.
And my feeling is
to the
that
right.
not only is it the bird is perfectly focused, the negative space works really well with it. It's definitely negative space in my eye.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
misspoke. It
I
should,
agree.
the bird should be moved to the right.
Right.
Yeah.
What he's saying is that maybe crop
Yes.
off a little bit of this.
Yeah,
Yes,
could have
sir.
taken a little more off the right. Yeah. I
Right.
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that you could do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
that's the
sir.
point.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey,
Then it's a debater's point, and I wouldn't argue it.
it's not,
It's a
I
great
don't think-
picture.
Very cool.
that's Barbara's, isn't it, Barbara?
Yes.
Okay, now
Style.
here, here's where we are, I don't want to say confused, but I think we're in agreement. Looking at this, I would call it minimalism.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, minimalism, because that's just space, just plain space. It could be anything. Is
It's
it any
empty negative space.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, and what?
Empty negative space.
Okay, I'm calling it just space. Same thing.
Blank space.
Blank
Blank.
space.
Blank, okay? Minimalism, there's no doubt about it. But is it blank? Does it add anything to the picture? The contrast does, but the space really doesn't. It's just blank space. It's beautiful, but it's blank space.
Well, now, wait a minute. I hear what you're saying, and I happen to agree 49% with that. But the question really is, if you didn't have blank space and you still had these chopsticks, how would you present the minimalistic picture?
We're trying to talk right now about a negative space.
Yes, and
Minimalist-
how would you present, if this is not negative space, how would you present
Wait,
the chopsticks?
We are calling it, we did a lot of reading here. We are calling this as space, blank space,
The
plain space.
black. The black
Black
is the
space.
negative space. The pencils or the fan or whatever that is the positive space. That's the focal point.
Oh, I thought you said, well, I read an article that said blank space, negative space, and dead space.
All the same.
That's what I sent to you.
Right.
That's what I sent to you.
Is
Blank
that
space.
where I got
dead
it?
space.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing that bothers me is it's cut off on the left. I would like to see probably
The end.
more negative space on the other side.
But my only, our point really is, do you agree or see that blank space, although it's negative, is not what we're calling negative space? That's what we're trying to get across. Negative space should have more interest, some interest, more meaning, and it's-
Slight bit of enhancement to
It
the
should
image,
contribute.
which this one doesn't. Exactly, contribute
right.
to the image in some small way,
Right.
where this is space.
Right.
It's nicely done space. We can move the space, for example, crop off part of the bottom, crop off part of the top, and still have the same minimalist photograph that we have here.
Okay.
Harvey, Harvey,
I'm sorry, yes?
I think that when you're saying it's not negative space,
It's space.
I disagree. I
It's
think if
space.
you didn't have this black, those, what I'm gonna say, chopsticks would not stand out and be as positive as they are.
No
I
one's-
think it does a lot. I think the background does a lot. If you had a white background, it would not have the same effect.
We're not saying it's not effective. It's a hairy kind of thing. It's effective, very effective. But we're saying negative space by our definition, or what we read should have some interest, contribute to it. Does it contribute? Is it contrast? Yes, but there's a slight difference in our minds. We
Now,
want to be-
Harvey, if these chopsticks were rotated on the left-hand side of this page,
diagonal.
however it would fit on the page, but as opposed to horizontally the way it is. But, you know, horizontally or more vertical on the left side of the page, would the rest of the page be negative space?
That's where the discrepancy comes in. It's a subtle difference. Is it negative because it's blank? It's negative in that terms. Is it proper use of negative space? Ideal use? Does it contribute to the picture? No. In contrast, yes. But by definition, we're saying this is blank space. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, but how about if you did the picture the way I just suggested it?
I don't see a difference.
It wouldn't make any difference
I don't
on what the interest in the back was.
I hear you, Herb. I hear you.
it might change my mind towards Herb's point of view in that we would now have almost two triangles of space
I see.
that work by themselves.
It would
Here, we don't have anything that works by themselves. So if
Right.
this was done at a diagonal, I might change and say, yeah, this really is negative space and it is working.
I don't know. Okay.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Carl, I wasn't thinking of a diagonal necessarily, but to the left side, more vertical. You're correct. It would split it up diagonally as opposed to horizontally. So that's the difference without a distinction. But moving it to the left vertically is a difference.
Adrian, okay.
This is a reflection, just so you know it.
Good. Yes, yes.
It's not just an image.
Beautiful.
So to just read something, if I may, for a second here of what
Mhm.
came out in that negative space, I'm just going to read one little paragraph. Negative space should allow the focus to be on the positive. The negative could be a solid background or even a busier background, but in any case, the viewer's eye should be focusing on the remaining positive face, which is the focal point. So the black is negative space. The question, is it a great use of negative space? And by what Carl is saying and what Herb also said, and a few people said, if you twisted those to bring them up to the vertical a little bit more, you would get the double triangles. And I agree with you, Carl, it would be a better picture with it, which would be a better use of the solid black background, which is your negative space that sets off those chopsticks.
Isn't that what we discussed as plain space?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Okay, what about this one?
Wonderful picture.
It's a great picture.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
We'd like people to comment, basically. You guys,
Great. Love it.
fabulous picture.
Love it. Love it.
Where's the negative space?
White on the black.
maybe
it's the
top and bottom.
And Ollie, do you agree?
Solid black and the white on the top, and the subjects are
Right.
all little people in
Right.
silhouette. Silhouette is very, very much a part of minimalism.
Absolutely. Right. Beautiful.
It's very well done. Also, about a third of the background in the black sets off
Great.
the middle zone. Beautifully done.
Great.
Yeah, that's what struck me is the proportion, how much black, how much
Mhm.
white, how much people, it's like perfect.
Right.
Yeah, perfect. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Beautiful is right.
Who took that picture?
David.
David took that. It looks like lots of Hatchie because I can tell they're up on the moat. They're up on
Yeah.
the thing. And I was going to say that's a Loxahatchee, and that has to be David's. Yeah.
Beautiful picture.
Great picture.
Minimalism
Minimalism.
all the way.
Yeah.
What
Tiny.
gave you the
tiny
first
space.
clue?
Carl, what do you think?
It's minimalism.
Absolutely.
Is that good?
And the blue color sets off the white trail. The blue plane gets a little lost up there in the sky, but you see the trail that does bring you to the little plane up above.
Right.
You can't not miss it, so.
If it wasn't for the grain in the blue, you might say this is empty space and the plane is just moving into it.
Right.
Got a
but the
little
grain
metal.
gives it a little bit of something that, looking at it on screen says, yeah, it really is a bit of negative space.
I agree. Right.
Yeah, and I would say that the blue in it has been either saturated quite high or luminescences to come down, because that's why you've got all those spots and a little bit of grain and everything else in the sky, but
Mhm.
it's very pretty, nicely done.
Yeah.
Good job.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, right?
I love this. I love this.
Great.
Yes.
Eileen, it's yours, I think.
Yes.
That's beautiful negative space. Used properly, enhances the positive. I love it.
Thank you.
Minimalism also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Really
the
nice photograph.
way you use the negative space is just beautiful. Beautiful.
Very good.
I like that it's a little dark at the bottom. Just
It-
makes it a little more weight at the bottom as opposed to the really soft flyaway thing at the top.
Great.
That's what the negative space is supposed to help the
Right.
image do. And it does it perfectly here.
Right. Great, Eileen. Super.
Thank you.
I think this is
Herb,
gorgeous.
beautiful.
Another
gorgeous.
beautiful one.
Gorgeous, Herb.
I got my inspiration from you.
No, I'm serious. Now, if that were just solid black, okay, I wouldn't say it's a great use of negative space. I would say it's space. But what you did here is beautiful.
Agree with her on that we have the stem working its way up
It's
towards
wonderful.
the plant is really well done. The way the leaves fade off into the background gives it a total sense of depth that works really well.
It does.
Very great.
The depth is great. Herb, I'm very proud of you, Herb.
All work. Right, Dangle.
Hey, from a neighbor, that's all right.
You can see the texture and the colors in the petals. It's
Petals.
beautiful.
It's
And
beautiful.
the roundness, everything just looks
Right.
so alive. When I opened this on my screen, I was like, oh my God. It just really popped right off the screen.
Is that why you called me at 3 a.m. in the morning?
Herb, where'd you get this from?
Really nice.
It's a gorgeous image.
Herb, do you actually use Photoshop or something?
What'd you
I
do,
don't know
Herb?
how to spell it.
Do you remember what you did?
I took a picture.
Right.
No, seriously, what did you do to enhance it?
I don't know Photoshop.
How'd you get the dark background?
What did you do?
What
Well,
did you do?
I possibly, occasionally what you do is you take your dark component on what exists on your software and make it darker. And if it doesn't also darken the subject matter, then you've got it made. And if you take a close look on the right-hand side in the middle, you can see some of the highlights. You see that yellow
here.
dot there, right there.
I see.
And here and
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So that's how I got it darker.
So you dropped your shadows and you dropped your blacks. That's in essence.
That's correct.
And there's also a little piece over here, but
Really
that's what makes it so alive because you know
Mhm.
there's something behind there. And
Yeah.
that, to me, that makes the negative space interesting,
Yeah,
which is what we're
Agreed.
talking about.
Yeah.
great,
Otherwise, we would just think you put a black background behind the flower.
Right.
right.
I'm not that smart.
This is more interesting. This is terrific.
This is computer world.
Love it.
I'm not reading anything.
My initial comment on this picture was into the minimalism section. I felt it was ever so slightly too busy for minimalism, but I think it works as an illustration of negative space that's beyond Anne's focal point and goes into the ocean and then goes into the sky and makes a very interesting composition overall.
Carl, if the sky were missing, would it be more minimal to you?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Very nice.
but it's a very, very nice shot.
Yeah.
It just works really well. The contrast of the red and the green and the blue, and then the white and the blue up at the top. It functions very well.
And again, it's the proportion of
Oh, yes.
how much of everything. There's just the right amount
Yep.
of each section.
Yeah, aside from maybe taking the sky out, which would change the picture completely, I wouldn't
Right.
do anything.
Mhm.
I probably would take the sky out, but how many times do we put
Right.
that camera up to our face? And we're really never sure, do we want that little bit of sky in or don't you?
And you can always take it out afterwards.
I take it both ways.
Right.
Yep, me
Right.
too.
Take it both ways. Never
Yeah.
know.
You're right, right.
All the time.
Mm.
Now,
Must
this
be
one,
Dave.
I thought was made by the same person that took the last one, but it's not. Because
It's
I know who
not.
made this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I see both negative and negative space here. Both to me, the birds are negative because of the white eye, and the background is negative. And Harvey and I went back and forth on this one too. Is the birds a body and tail positive?
Yes, they're the
They are
focal point
positive.
of the picture.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. But
They're both focal
my,
point. The
say
two
again?
birds- The two birds are clearly the focal point.
That's
They're
what I
still
thought.
I
I
agree.
looked at the total darkness of them versus the detail on the branches they're sitting on and said, were they meant to be that? Or was the eye meant to be that?
See, I think they're focal points and they're both minimalistic in the sense that they have no detail.
Right. No detail.
Yeah, good point on that.
Yeah,
Right. Great, great picture.
it's cool.
The
Like
pictures,
a picture-
the
picture,
pictures
love
overall,
the picture, yeah.
even fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank
But I
you,
guess
that's fine.
whose shot is that?
Ira.
Fine, Ira,
It's very
Ira.
well done.
Beautiful, Ira.
Yeah, I
Beautiful,
like it a lot.
thank you.
great picture.
Very nice.
I
Beautiful.
submitted it to the photo journal contest, so let's see if they say the same thing.
Fabulous.
Good luck.
The best thing is the two white eyes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, the white eyes make this photograph.
White eyes do it all. Yeah.
Ira, was this a color picture before you dealt with it?
Yes,
It
yes, it
was.
was definitely a color picture.
What was, what was the
You
background?
eliminated the background?
Was what? The background?
It was taken at Cotahatchee.
I mean,
And
initially, what was the
Greensburg.
background? Was it sky? What was it?
It was mostly sky.
I'm guessing, did you turn it black and white and then run it through threshold or something like that?
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
Oh,
Is that how you make the birds so black with threshold?
Yeah. Yes,
You turn them black and white first, and then you drop your blacks. You might not have to, because these birds, if they're
Dark.
bowtail grackles, males, I'm thinking that they're dark to begin with.
dark brown.
Okay,
You take, you take out all the texture and all the detail. They just become black, plain
And that's-
black.
a lot of what minimalism does. Silhouettes work really well with minimalism.
And obviously the eyes weren't there. I added the eyes afterwards.
Ah, okay.
and
We
by
know
the
that,
way,
because I've never seen a
Dan,
bird with those eyes.
let me ask a question. Let me ask a question. If these two birds didn't have a white background as they do, but had a bokeh background, would this photo still be minimalistic?
I don't think so, because I think that the background would be too distracting.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Agreed.
because I remember from the presentation, we had a bokeh background, and backgrounds always bothered me as a definition, as part of a definition of negative
Minimalism.
space, and also of minimalism, because it's too busy, it's too much going on.
Yet it worked very well with Ann's picture of the bird in the water. Same
Because of
bokeh
the
that
water,
we're talking
that's-
about.
I think it was because of the water it works.
Yes, it really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
This one would not.
No,
It would
Oh.
be very distracting.
yeah.
So how did you do those eyes? Did you just white the ones that were there, or you placed them there?
I placed them there.
How'd you know where? The spot is like
Head
so
on.
perfect.
Well, he knew where the other eyes were, so
He
in
looked
essence,
at birds.
you just gotta clone them out and put new ones in, you know?
You put yourself on mute, Ira. Ira, you're on mute.
if you cloned
I'm
out.
sorry, my
eyes to
phone is
begin with-
ringing, so I
Oh, okay.
wanted to get rid of that.
Oh,
I added the eyes and just guessed about where it was.
Good job.
unbelievable.
Right.
Yes.
Because
Right.
that could have been so distracting if they were in the wrong place. You know, they would have been creepy or just like staring into space. They're just perfect.
Thank you.
Ira, I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Great job.
Escape,
Nice picture.
seascape, landscape.
I don't think it's minimalism, but there is negative space.
This whole section is supposed to be just negative space. Minimalism and is another section.
Okay.
So this is,
So what would you say the focal point is on this picture? Is Doris, is this yours?
No,
Jerry.
it's not.
All right, so I'm trying to
It's-
figure out what would we say the focal point is? The mountains?
I think so.
And the column that runs between the mountains, the kind of the little path of the water going back to the horizon, maybe back in there? The
No,
middle ground is really your focal point.
Right.
Yeah, I think you drew
I
it.
see this as almost completely positive space. That I'm using the ripples on the water to bring me into the middle ground and then through it to the background and to the mountains way back there.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Everything is equally weighted.
Yep,
Yeah. Yeah. Nice picture.
definitely agree. But not minimalist and not negative space.
No.
Agreed.
I think it's.
I don't think it's negative space.
Who's mumbling in the background, Gloria?
I am.
We're discussing it.
I'm
Right.
arguing.
Yeah.
I'm
In other
arguing.
words, are you
sky is
saying
neg-
we could take off?
I'm arguing the
part
sky
of
is negative.
I don't think so. I think that, I don't see that at all.
I think the sky could be cut down and still be a beautiful picture.
It's a beautiful picture, but I don't think it's
It
negative.
wouldn't
if
change.
the
anything
sky
to
was
negative space.
plain, if the sky was all blue, I'd say it's negative, but the sky happens to be a very interesting sky.
Yes.
Has a
Yeah,
lot of
it is.
Great. So you look at the sky also. Your
Right.
eyes go to that also.
But in, Harvey gave me a definition earlier when I had a long discussion with him. And the negative space he defined also as artistically embodied.
Not
And-
not overpowering. Not
It's
not
overpowering. This can't
not
be.
this dynamic. Mike.
Yeah. This
Okay.
everything, you look at
Okay.
everything in this picture.
Right.
Okay,
All
Absolutely.
equally weighted. Yeah.
Now,
okay.
And
if the
sky-
foreground was blurry, for example, and you didn't have any details in the waves, you might say that was negative space, or you might simply eliminate it. But in this case, it's sharp from front to back in every place.
The
Okay.
entire
All
thing.
positive.
I'll
Would have
stand.
been an interesting long exposure, but I look at the sky with a lot of detail. It sets the mood with the storm and the impending clouds out there. But it would have been interesting if the whole lake was a long exposure and just glass. And then you had sky. It'd be really kind of with the movement of the clouds. It would be wild.
Yeah.
Wish I was
It
there.
would
Where'd
be.
you shoot that?
And I saw this also as a panoramic without the top or the bottom. And
Just-
still another way of looking at it, almost making an abstract out of this image.
Just the middle part.
Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of things to play with here.
It's a beautiful picture.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yes. But it is an entire picture.
Yes.
A buzzard. I'm trying to think. I think it's a buzzard.
A buzzard in plain space.
Yep,
Yeah.
minimalistic.
Agreed.
By a hair.
By a hair because of the location and not really a lot of sky. The bird takes up a considerable amount of space. So you
Yes.
don't have the sense of the little bird and the great expanse of space like you would with minimalism. So by a hair, I agree, Carl, by a hair. It's reaching, so probably.
It is.
Yep.
If it was a silhouette, would then it be a minimalist?
It almost
Oh, it
is.
has- It's still the size of the bird. You'd like a
Yeah.
smaller bird, maybe a little more to the corner and maybe have silhouette it and take some of the detail out of it. It's got some detail. I'd rather have none or have it all.
Right.
Mhm.
The detail is very pretty, though. It's not
It is.
overwhelming.
Yeah, in here, it's nice.
But I do wonder what's underneath the wings and underneath the neck and such, and that's where it doesn't quite
In here.
get there.
Adrian, I think everyone's saying now, the discussion we're having, I think is really important for this topic. I think it's great.
Yeah.
All the input.
But yeah, it's just space, and so is this one.
Well, this one, I think the negative, I
Yeah.
think there is negative space because it's different shades of
I do
blue.
too.
Not enough.
Oh, I don't know about
Okay.
that.
It's a toss up on this one.
Yeah.
I see it as negative space because there's very little detail behind it. It's a very blurred, dreamy background, smooth, creamy,
Mhm.
ethereal. It doesn't really have that sense of detail. So I look at the whole background as negative space complementing the blimp. But
All negative. I think
It's
negative.
one picture that shows a blimp up in the sky. And the sky is part of the blimp because it's a blimp up in the sky.
Herb, that's getting
What do you
scary.
mean by that?
That's just
You know
getting
that.
scary. I'm like,
That's a Herb sentence.
I'm
That's for
like,
sure.
I don't know where you went there, Herb, but it was someplace where I couldn't go.
Right.
What about where cutting off some, cropping off some of
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Again, so that it looks more like it's moving into
Yeah.
this bigger space
Yeah,
Makes
the
sense.
little black mark bothers me.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this picture and the last picture could use a little bit of cropping.
Yeah.
Kind of like my bird, take off more on the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't
And
sure
it
that
makes
you
the image
really
more
had
di-
to.
I think it makes, when it's a moving or potentially moving thing, it makes it, to me, makes it more dynamic if there's a proportionate more space in front.
Yeah,
No.
I would agree.
So,
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
What is that?
R2D, it's R2D2, it's a
That's what I
robot.
thought.
What is
That's what I
that?
thought. R2D2.
I
No,
call it R2D2. I'm like, what is that?
Maybe
It's
it's
a
a
Dalek.
carburetor.
it's a Dalek from Doctor Who.
a Dalek. I thought you had a typo. I thought it was like a garlic dispenser. What is it, man?
What is it?
It's a Doctor Who. His big thing is it says exterminate, exterminate.
Oh,
I don't
God.
watch it, my family does.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
We got a lot of okays and all rights.
What about whatever?
She
Whatever.
I
left,
would
she
say
left.
that
She's
the
going to
black-
bring him probably.
What I would say is the black around it, whatever it is, the black around it doesn't have enough of a sense of separation because of the lack of contrast with the darker outside grays in the, I would like to see that object, whatever it is, set off a little bit more. And it basically disappears, the back left of it sort of disappears into the darkness. I don't know.
This is what it looks like, and not in real life. And this is
Oh, funny. Huh?
In real life.
So what is it?
The question is it negative space or not?
I think it's too busy.
So do I. I think with the right-hand side and with the dots on the left-hand side, that it isn't really negative space. None of it seems to really be helping the subject in this
Correct.
image.
Right.
Correct. The subject doesn't get set off. It doesn't
Yeah.
do anything for the subject.
It's
You know what
hindering.
might have worked with this image? Making it a vertical,
The background is too busy.
eliminating a third of the right side and a third of the left side, and just having an image of whatever this thing is.
With a little bit of dark around it.
Make it a square?
No, rectangular, vertical.
There's too much going on. In the-
Yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta
Definitely.
clean up those white spots.
There's a
White
lot of
spots
sense of.
have-
Yeah, the white spots, no, that has to go. But you might as well take off the side.
Yeah, there's shading back there and there's kind of lights and grays and just a little sense of texture behind the depth. Not, yeah.
Okay.
But not enough to enhance the photograph,
Right.
the subject. Mhm.
That's not just plain space,
No.
right?
That's what did you say, Hart?
Not just plain space,
No.
right? Right.
My same comment about getting rid of some of this
Yes.
part.
Yes, I agree with Adrian on that.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a fair bit of edge enhancement on it, I think.
That's the dead space.
Yeah.
Yep, the right-hand side is dead space, leading into negative space. And what helps the negative space in this is that single cloud on the left.
Yeah, this whole.
You can almost eliminate the bottom cloud,
Good.
and those two pieces relating to each other, cut off on the right again, and it's a rectangular running across on top of the bird and below the
Oh, I
cloud on the left.
I didn't mean to do that, sorry.
No problem, would work as a very interesting photograph.
Yeah.
Right now, there's too much space in the photograph.
Yeah, if you took the crop up from the bottom right-hand corner, you'd get rid of the cloud on the. the
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
You don't
Have
need-
that diagonal with the bird looking down right towards the wisp of that little cloud. on
That's
the
what
bottom.
makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
it. I think there's one more, I think.
There's two more, this one and
Two
one
more?
more. So in tight.
thank you.
God bless, yes.
Bless you.
Thank,
The
There's no
focal-
negative
the-
space on this.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Ira, were you talking?
I just said that this does not have negative space, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree. I'm trying to figure out, busy in the bottom right for negative space.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree also. That
And
there
that
isn't
draws
any-
my eye right there instead of
Yes.
the beautiful flowers.
Yeah, right. Agreed.
And there's also too many flowers that are blown out, so
Right.
that just brings my eye to all of these extra white ones, so it's just
Well,
like a jumble.
The linear line on the top left isn't too bad with the green, but above that is the dead space with the dead grass
Yeah.
corner.
Right.
So I definitely take that out and I bring that crop from the right-hand corner up and get rid of that. Get rid of the dead stuff on the bottom right. Yep.
All of this.
You know, if this picture had been taken on a diagonal of just the flower bed, it
Yeah.
might have been a more interesting image.
Yep, especially. if you
And
got that
that's where
side.
you gotta look through the finder, or if you're shooting this with a phone, which I suspect it might have been. Yeah, what the phone shows you. My wife is very good at tilting the
Yeah,
phone to get the image that she wants. And that would have worked perfectly here if the phone had been tilted a little bit from to the left, we wouldn't have the bottom and we wouldn't have the top right.
Or you could just get down lower and have a shot at lower, but
Of
for
course, yeah.
understanding of what Adrian said, with clipping, with the whites are blown out, means that all the detail is gone out of the light colored flowers. There's no detail. The darker flowers still have the detail left in the shadows and the darkers, but the highlights just are all clipped out.
That's one of the advantages of shooting in RAW instead of shooting in JPEG. If
can
this
save
is
a
done
lot.
in JPEG and the camera processed it to its satisfaction, you don't get as much of a chance to change it as you do with a RAW file.
Right. You'd have to go back in your, if it's a smartphone picture, go back in the edit menu and see if you can take the highlights down.
Anything from the what the iPhone 7 up can do that.
Yeah,
But just so much, Carl, just to some degree,
right.
you can
You can
recover
get the
something.
full RAW image out of it, but it won't be as good as any image that you're going to get, at least with the earlier iPhones, that you're going to get out of your cameras.
this
Right.
is Susan, just so you know, she's not here because she's with her grandkids, but this is Susan and she just got this phone. I think it's a 12 something or other.
That should do superbly well.
Yeah, she's just learning it, so she
And
used this as an opportunity.
this will shoot in Apple's own proprietary RAW format, which
Yeah.
opens up in any of the Adobe programs and gives you a good deal of leeway to play.
That's great.
Well, this is an example of the lesson that we had in iPhone photography. And the main lesson in that is with an iPhone, get close, get close, get close. This is just too busy, too far from the subject.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to know the limitations of your instrument.
Mhm.
Is that like understanding your subject matter?
I love this picture.
I always love that picture. I
Yeah,
love that
you have
picture when
to.
I saw it in the show. It
Yeah.
just puts a smile on my face. Where's Waldo? Puts a smile on your face. Really does.
Oh,
Very-
absolutely. And
Is
that
that
brought up
Dave?
a question, is it just empty space, or is the little smile at the bottom make the rest of it a nice negative space?
Interesting question.
I see all the white as negative space and I see the little yellow line as part of the subject.
Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that too.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yes,
thought the little yellow line being part of the subject made the white part the negative space. Otherwise, it would have just been, without it, not.
See, there are so many ways of looking at this.
Eh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that
Right?
Dave's picture?
No, this is Vivian.
Vivian's.
Wow, Vivian.
Great.
Good job,
Love-
Vivian.
Love it.
It's a very cool picture. Yeah.
the way one would look at this
Thank you.
as a psychologist,
Oh, boy.
you'd see the eyes on the top, and you know this yourself, and you see the mouth at the bottom or the smile, and you'd fill in the head.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
see the
yeah.
chin, you see the ears, and you see the bald spot. So the whole thing is a picture. There's no negative space. Maybe at the top.
It's
But these are-
that's truly in your mind's eye.
Yes,
Definitely.
absolutely. That's
I'll
why
tell
I
you
said,
what
well,
else
I see beautiful dark hair, a full head of hair on a female, not on a male.
Red hair. Red hair. You gotta get red hair.
Okay,
But you know what's interesting? Look at the glasses where they're folded in the back and they're cut off as they come to the nose piece.
yes.
That's just kind of wild. That
Yeah.
Here.
I think really makes the picture.
It's a fun picture, really is.
yes.
Those are my glasses, my red glasses.
No,
A
I've seen
deceptively
you in
simple
your red
photograph.
glasses.
Nice picture.
Very good.
Very cool.
Definitely.
Talk about putting a smile on your face.
Okay, now we're talking about minimalism.
I love that.
A towel rack or a door knocker? A towel rack, I think, right?
A
Towel
towel
rack.
rack.
Love it. Wow.
Is there anybody else going to comment in this crew? We got a whole bunch of people on this and no one, some of them are not saying a peep
No,
ever.
wait a minute, Paul.
Now, you talk a lot, Herb.
Wait a minute.
Okay, okay, okay.
Wait,
my-
wait, someone wants to talk. Paul,
Harry,
is it Harry or Paul?
If I have Herb's permission to put a word in,
Go for
Go
it.
ahead.
what is that white, that vertical space on the right? It just takes your eye away from
I
everything.
was going to ask that, Harry.
That's interesting. That's the edge of the mirror that's next to the towel rack. It's the white border of the, the white frame from the mirror.
Okay.
And I took this a whole bunch of ways to try to eliminate that. And then I decided I really liked it. So I left it there
I actually do like it, by the way.
because it's two tones. If it was just one tone, I wouldn't have liked it. But because
It
it's,
breaks the pattern up. It gives you
Yeah.
a little bit of a sense of that line going up and down, which it just breaks the pattern.
It
I like
gives a nice contrast to the circle
right.
with a straight line up and down.
Yeah, if that had been cut off, we would have lost part of the circle, which I don't think Adrian would have want to have done. It definitely is a nice minimalist picture, and you could call the background negative if you like.
And it also matches the middle of the towel line.
This
Good
piece.
point. Yes,
It's like two parallel.
yes.
That's what I
You
like.
have two circles, you have the large circle, and then the piece that's holding up against the wall, which is circles, and now you have two lines in parallel.
Good
It's a
point.
lovely picture, Adrian.
Yes,
It really is.
very nice comment.
I like the texture of the background,
I do too.
but I guess that would make it negative space.
It is.
No. The
All
reason-
that
the
beigey grayish color is all negative.
No,
space.
the reason I say no, and is simple. And I question its minimalistic character, and here's why. This photograph is the whole towel rack. And because of the fact that it's framed on all four sides, it makes it look like the towel rack includes what I guess is in the background glass, but one can't tell because the whole thing is framed and it makes it look like one picture. So if it's one picture, I may be wrong because I have a towel rack also, and it stands by itself. But here with the frame around it, it is one picture and it's the whole thing. And if there's nothing included in it, it's the whole picture, and it's not a minimalistic picture. It's the whole picture. It happens to be of a small subject matter.
So
with
Herb, you
what
don't
would
see the
call-
background. You don't see that gray color as background.
And no, it's part of the picture. Because of the frame, because of the frame.
And yeah, I see his point with the frame, but I think Adrian put the frame in afterwards. It's not part of the picture. The whole white thing around it.
Right, it's
It's a
because of the
border.
black, yeah.
If
We
so,
can only
let's
look at the
consider the
photo-
photograph without the border.
Carl, we can only look at the picture, not as it was in Adrian's bathroom, which I've only been in twice.
How did you get there?
As it's presented in front of us, and that's what I see. I'm not hypothesizing anything.
Nope, it's a valid point.
Okay, let's keep going.
That's passing a buck.
It definitely is. We can discuss it later. Um, In my not so humble opinion, this is not a minimalist photograph, just because it has minimalist people in it.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a very nice photograph of hiking somewhere where it's really cold and you got trees and got everything, but the picture is almost a maximalist picture.
Where is Ann? Where is Ann?
She's there.
Ant's there.
Those were
Oh,
my
where are
friends.
you in the photograph?
Yeah, red. Yeah, this is, I expected to see Ann.
She's the
There was the
third
tracks
one in
coming
line.
back down on the other side.
Uh-huh.
So no, it doesn't quite make it as a minimalist photograph, even though it's pretty much a monotone picture.
Yeah.
Might make it as a minimalist if
If
it
you
was all
cropped it
black
all
and
out.
white.
Black and white and cropped it all out.
Yeah.
Leave all the people, crop everything else out.
That's interesting, Ann. If we had cropped this picture, almost the top half gone,
Yeah,
and just left the pieces that are in the lower left leading up to the group and the front piece, yeah, that would be a very, very interesting photograph by itself.
I'll do it and send it to you later.
Good, thank you. I'd love to see.
I would get rid of this part, though.
Yeah.
It would
actually
just
have-
be here, kind
Yeah.
of.
No, across the whole, we literally take off 55% of the top part of the picture.
Absolutely.
The problem with this picture is you don't know where your eyes go.
Right,
You
there's too
have
many
maps,
things
have
to
the
look at.
facts, And you have the people. You
I would
have
agree.
3 different areas.
Yet I found my eyes went straight to the little people in the
Me
center,
too.
and I ignored the mountains.
Yep.
Well,
No, I was looking for a Bigfoot. You know this? I was looking for-
Well, those are the trails he made. That's from the vehicle.
And then he disappeared.
Yes. He
And
was
I
picked
went
up
to
by
get,
aliens.
I went to get a jacket.
Okay.
Ooh, cool.
Nice.
Yes. Love the shadow behind it in the light.
Is that Barbara's?
Yes.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, this
You
looks
know-
like Barbara.
It doesn't it? Irene.
Yeah, you can tell Barbara's pictures as a compliment. You
Oh,
can
yeah,
tell Barbara's
yeah.
pictures,
What
He
are we
has a
looking at?
definite style. Yep.
What are we looking at? You know,
except it should usually be brown.
brown and gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it? Yeah.
Classical. What is that?
I think
I
they're
don't
like
know.
glass,
Glass.
Like
glass,
that when you
uh,
decorate a
little
pot
rocks,
with
those
Yeah.
decorated
Oh,
rocks.
Glass rock. I think so. I think so. Beautiful. Simple. Beautiful. Colors are great. Very nice.
And the background works perfectly.
Sure.
Minimalist,
Minimalist.
Minimalist.
very simple.
Absolutely.
Guess who that one is?
Dave,
That's
David.
Dave.
It's obvious.
You like red from the lips. Remember that
Really?
one?
Yeah,
Minimalist and negative space,
yeah.
Yep.
both.
both. And I don't know, Dave is,
He does it a lot. Yeah, he's really got an eye for that.
does he ever?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
He has a graphic arts background, so
Exactly.
That's his
advertising.
background.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
It comes through, it shows.
The only thing I question on this is the white spot in the upper right. Does that?
Agreed.
This-
Agreed.
White spot on upper left. My eye
No,
goes
Well, the
there.
upper left is fine, I think. That sets it off.
Yeah.
But
But
the
I
upper
find
right-
the upper right one also sets it off well. One of my mentors way back when, Ernie Rubin from New York City, would call it Ernie's irritant.
Oh,
Mhm.
And it does work because it helps round out the globe that's there, at least in my opinion. And the top one on the left doesn't bother me. I might tone it down a bit,
That's
but
right.
that's about it.
it's very
Yeah.
hot right in here.
It's very hot. And I know Dave doesn't yet shoot in RAW because he's a bit afraid of it. And I told him I would teach him how. It's very
Oh,
simple.
don't teach him anything.
Well, no, I'm not, believe me, I think he could teach me how to take a good picture. He's got a natural eye.
Yeah.
He sure
Yes.
does. He sure does.
He sees unbelievably.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna back out and commenting on this one.
Why?
Not gonna answer that either.
When a subject is taking up most of the frame, I don't think of that as minimalism, when it's filled with very interesting texture. So it's not simple. It's a still life.
Keep going with that.
Good, good eye.
Yeah,
Good.
anybody else?
I agree, it's a lovely picture, but it's not minimalism. I agree that the leaf takes up too much of the picture to be considered minimal.
Is it the size or is it the interest or both?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
By
I think it's
interest,
both.
you mean the veins?
I mean, I don't think it's just the size. I think it's the fact that there's so much to look at in there and so much texture and dimension.
That might even be, I don't know, water on the edges of
That's what
it,
it sort of looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
a little.
Yeah, it's really hard to say.
It does.
That's not water.
No, I
Yeah.
don't think it's water. I think it's just
Not
the
water.
edges of that.
The little prickly. on the-
Yeah.
Oh, that particular plant,
Yeah, that little prickly type of,
like a cactusy kind of a.
yeah.
It's a nice angle. It's like nicely placed.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Okay, is it negative space because of that little thing below it on the
I
left?
don't think it's enough
Yeah.
space. It's like those clouds, what are they doing there? Obviously, we're looking up at this.
I think it looks like space.
Yeah,
Space.
just space.
That's right.
I
I
think
don't
it would
think
be a
it's
nicer
allowed.
picture if the plant leaf was not taken so large and only, let's say, maybe the bottom third of it was taken,
Mhm.
or maybe half of it was taken and placed as it is in the top left corner.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
It'd be
You
a
got it.
prettier picture. I think
agree.
it's overwhelming. I think the
Yeah.
size of it and is just too overwhelming in the space.
Yep.
But-
And also we lose sharpness up at the top
Here, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
in that whole area.
Mhm.
another reason why it'd be better if you cut that whole top half off. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Loxahatchee.
Wow.
Don't leave home without your mask.
Yeah, I know. Otherwise, this would be like an antique photograph.
It's a
Mask
snapshot.
gave it away.
Yeah.
I don't find it minimalist.
It's a snapshot.
Too much detail.
Yeah,
Around-
there's just too much in it. There's too much in that black lower right. There's too much in the bushes on the left.
And back
Uh,
here, lots
Oh,
of
yeah,
things
there's
to
a
look
lot of
at.
stuff back there and that whole foreground area.
It's one of
And-
those diminishing returns, but it doesn't really, yeah, too much detail.
I think Herb sort of nailed it.
Yep.
What did he say?
Snapshot.
I don't know, you're gonna
Photograph.
deny it? We have it on tape.
It's a photograph.
Whoa.
Great.
That burned
love
my
this
eyes when I
picture.
looked at it.
Mhm.
That's great.
And would you take off the whole right side, the whole left side, and make this a vertical?
No, only just the left side.
I would, to start with, I would like to see the figure on the ladder placed a little more to the left of the picture.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
the question is, I'd have to look at that then to determine whether or not I really wanted to take off the right. It's one of those things that actually could work with a lot of that negative plain empty space around it. If
Yes,
the
it could.
picture was a little more left. I'd have to see it. I mean, you could simply see that it would work better if you took off some on the right and the left and made it a vertical, but then the figure would become too big in the frame. So
Yeah.
if you're looking to create that sense of the massive wall and this guy being maybe a little smaller going up the wall, and you're looking for the immense space around him with you saying, oh my God, he's climbing up there, but he's got a long way to go or whatever he's doing to take care of that big size wall. I still would like that wall to be as it is, but just like to see him left
Mhm.
Great.
of it.
Okay.
Very good. I
Yeah.
begin to agree, and I'm looking at it your way.
I might even cut a rung off the bottom. And make
That's one rung too far.
And I have a question. You said negative empty space.
all the yellow.
So is that negative space or is it
Yes,
just
it's
space?
negative space.
You're still
It's
calling it-
around the subject matter. It's what's surrounding in the background of the focal point, in my way of thinking, yes.
Okay.
But what she's saying is to take off some of here.
Yes, when I put a picture up, paper up against it, it makes it more interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Well, you're busy.
Yep.
Oh, it's nice having you.
I would like this picture without the clouds.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
You don't
That
need
this is the minimalism part. This is too
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be two separate pictures.
That's a whole
Yeah.
other picture.
Yep. I would agree.
Yep. Not minimalism is the way it sits.
Right.
But it had the potential, it was there.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's right
Yes.
here. It's this whole bottom thing. And there's a, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bird right here also.
Yeah, I'd like to put him above the boat.
Yeah,
Wait
well.
till he gets there.
You can do
No, no,
that.
we have to put Ann's moon behind the boat.
I didn't see the bird. I see the bird now.
Yeah, he's right
Yeah.
here.
I see
It's
it.
funny, that's exactly where my eye went.
That's an interesting relic.
Eh,
Yeah.
Nicely done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl, no argument about this, right?
No.
Right?
No, it's
very
fine.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my picture, this is Ira.
Yeah.
The stroke around it is nice too, Aaron.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I like that you rounded the corners, which sort
Mm.
of makes everything rounded. I mean,
Mm.
everything
Very
here is
nicely
rounded.
done, the rounded corners.
enhances. Yeah.
Yeah, nice catch on that, Adrian.
Good
Beautiful.
pictures, Ira. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ira, you sort of told me you were an amateur.
What does that mean?
Were you fibbing?
I was not an amateur.
That's what he sort of was when we talked.
Oh, no.
No, beautiful work.
Yes, really nice image.
Thank you.
Sort of like the salt shaker I put up, pretty minimalist. The only part of it that makes it a little bit difficult is the background itself, which is maybe a little bit too sharp.
Yeah, it could be darker.
Yeah, either darker
Yeah.
or
If you make it
lighter.
darker, you lose the shadow, and you don't want to lose that shadow. That
Right
shadow
here.
is important. So you can't
Yes.
go darker. You would have to smooth it out. You'd have to kind of take the texture out.
Yeah.
You
What
need to
happens if
cut
you
off
cut
the
off-
right. There's so many
I also
rules.
would like it better if the cone was on the right side where the arrow is sitting right now, where Adrian is, on the bottom right corner.
Yeah, it is definitely very centered.
Yes,
Yeah.
too
You
centered.
need to take off the right.
Yeah, because there's
And the right
nothing
is,
here.
and the right is the brighter part of the image where your eye tends to go there. And yes, if it was cut wood about where the arrow is, and that little section still darkened, you would see a bit more of the shadow of the pine cone and the
Yep.
pine cone itself.
Yep.
So it almost becomes, if this would work as a rectangle, not a rectangle, as a square
Square.
image.
Where?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's there. It's just too centered. That's all.
We have negative space, don't we?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I like
I
it.
wish we had a sharp butterfly.
Yeah,
Right.
it's pretty though. The whole thing is soft.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Very
like that. I like that the foreground is
Like
soft.
watercolor.
Yeah.
Nice position.
You know, there's a special beauty in it being soft and a
Soft.
little blurred like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
agree. In this case, I agree.
But it's not minimalistic.
No.
by accident.
Oh, by accident.
So not minimalistic by accident.
Absolutely.
No, it's a wonderful picture. The whole picture is, it's,
Lots of things to look at.
yeah.
Okay, we have 5 more, so we can finish.
Oh,
That's a lovely picture. It needs a little bit more contrast.
Yes.
definitely.
The whites are a little too flat. And these,
It's-
and the,
yeah.
and the detail of the tree branches and the trunk and the snag needs to be just darkened up a little bit.
And you lose the beak on this bird. It's just
Mhm.
into the white.
I would have rather seen the picture vertical because everything is giving a vertical image. The tree trunk, the birds is vertical.
Yeah,
I would think if it had finished off the top of the tree, it would have been nicer, in my opinion.
yeah. It needs more text, more contrast so that there's more texture in here. It's just washed out. It's not high key, it's just washed out.
This
Right.
picture doesn't remind me of a photograph. It looks like a pencil drawing.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does,
You know,
Yeah,
it looks like more of a-
definitely.
I actually think, by the way, if you look at that snag, aside from, and I agree with everything with the contrast and the washed out, if you actually cloned out the bottom branch on the right,
Correct.
took it out and then made a vertical out of it instead
Oh,
of square.
So all
That's
of
right.
it or just,
Take the bird, take that whole thing right over to the tree trunk.
okay,
And now you wouldn't have all that space that you needed to make it square on the right. Now you could bring it in and make it more vertical.
right.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
this is the
And
picture.
I was simply gonna leave the branch there because I found it worked, but cut it off right next to the bird on the right.
Like over here.
Yes, and then also on the left, bring it very close to the branch that's turning in over there. No, I leave the turn in part on.
Oh,
Yeah.
just right
and
close
work from
here.
There.
See, I like the curve. I love the.
Yeah, so do I.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think the curve is very important.
Yep.
And so just basically in my mind, just sort of tighten it from both left and right. I don't, in my sense, I don't have any particular dislike for the whiteness of it. I agree with the thought that it almost looks like a pencil drawing. And
Yeah,
I
it looks like a
that.
sketch of a pencil. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with
so
that.
I'm not sure I would add a lot more contrast, although I would try it. I'm not sure I would add texture because I don't think it really needs it.
It's an interesting picture.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Is.
Yep. Very nice.
Yeah,
Nancy was having fun with her candy.
that's funny. That puts a smile on my face.
Does.
You're looking at an M&M, babe.
Is he chocolate?
Has to be.
I would think.
He's
Yeah.
whatever you want him to be.
Not with that color.
I hope so.
What did you do here, Nancy, to make it look like that?
She's on mute.
You're on mute.
I
Okay.
know, I'm having new problems all day today. My third or fourth Zoom. I'm so zoomed out. Don't ask me tough questions. I actually started to play with the different editing things, so, which is a good thing. I mean,
What's the background comprised of? How did you get the background?
that actually is not, it's, I was playing with it. It's something I did in editing.
It's
A
a
fil-
filter.
A filter.
The texture?
It's a filter.
Okay.
Yeah, the texture filter.
There's a UPS code
Oh,
Yeah. I might eliminate the UPS code on the bottom.
Oh, under here.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's on the
Take
M&M.
the barcode off his feet.
I didn't even notice it until you said it.
Detail person.
My
It's
wife
on the
says she's
shelf.
the
I don't
detail person.
usually look at the,
Yeah.
All right, so the question is it minimalism?
No,
No,
Oh,
no,
No.
no.
And the
It's-
background, that texture would be what I would consider to be the negative space.
Mhm.
sure.
He's cute.
thank you.
I like the angle you shot at.
I do too.
That's
I
very
actually
different.
played with different angles. I mean, as you know, I'm really bad at this in the beginner, but I have trying to tweak a little bit, and they say every little bit helps, so I am trying to play a little more.
Good for you.
Good.
Good.
Good for you that you found the filter and you play with the texture in the background. Good for you.
Thank you.
What are you using when you're playing with it?
I'm using what am I using? 13?
Elements.
Photoshop.
Elements 13. I think it's 13.
Yeah.
13 or 14. I can't remember which one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you
elements.
eat the M&M?
Probably a long time ago. It probably didn't make it home. Let's be honest.
Oh, it had M&Ms inside of it?
I don't think so. It's a wind-up toy. But if it did, they didn't make it home.
Got it.
It's a great prop to play with.
Yeah, they're playing with props is fun.
Can I borrow it?
Sure. I even know where it is. It's on the computer.
Almost as minimalist as you can get.
I was gonna say that's certainly minimalism.
What are we looking at?
Bottom of something that's rusty.
My guess is it's one of those, like when you go in a park and they have things up to make a little shade. Sort of like the shape of a sail.
Oh, they have that in Lake Worth Pier.
Yeah,
at
at
the
Lake Worth
beach.
Pier, they
Uh-huh.
have them. I think it's something like that because that's what it looks like to me. Paul, are you still here? What is it?
That's exactly what it is. It's from Lake Worth Pier.
There you
Oh
go.
my.
Wow.
Very good.
We did a shoot there once.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and that's where the bird came from too.
Minimalism.
I think that's the beauty of it, that we don't know exactly what it is.
Who say that again? Ira?
Ira said, I think that's the beauty of it, that we don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And the colors are gorgeous.
Yeah.
The blue against the gold, against the light blue, a beautiful color palette.
That's
Yeah,
true.
people did seem to know what it was. I didn't.
No, Ann did. obviously.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
but
either.
somebody who's seen it apparently had the ability to recognize it, even though it's such a small part of this picture, cut off beautifully, by the way. One part off of the top of it, right at the edge, the bottom missing. It just flows into that one place. And then you've got this cloud, very soft in the background, that's making up the negative space of this image and is helping you understand what it is.
The angles were-
Angles are great.
The angles,
I-
diagonals are great.
I think you could crop some of the sky off the top.
I thought someone would say that. What do you think? I'm cracking.
Not for what we're trying to do, I don't think.
No,
No.
Nope.
I like it.
I would say no too. I would say that it loses a sense of the minimalistic kind of,
yeah,
the breadth of the small lines leading out with the breadth of the sky. It just makes you feel that the object and whatever that is below with the lines are just so insignificant relative to everything else around it.
Right.
Dimension.
Very true.
and yet that's exactly where your eyes are drawn. And they're drawn to the rust part of it under there. And it
Right at
tends to keep you there. And then you flow into the cloud, which makes a triangle with it, which works with the triangle of the thing. It's just a nice image.
That's why understanding composition and minimalism makes it work.
That's why, as my
Who just
wife
said
says-
that?
Sheila. did.
Sheila? Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that learning what the negative space and the minimalism does, when you look at a picture like this, it says, it's taught me how to compose it.
Right.
Because this flows because the composition works.
Yeah.
And it works because negative space and minimalism used correctly really makes a good image.
Correct.
What's interesting also, and Carl, you alluded to it, the angle of the sky of the one wispy cloud coming down, making another triangle with the other.
Right. Right.
If that sky was not quite that way and that wispy
Wouldn't have worked.
line was different, it would have a totally different impact. And then you might be saying, I don't like all the sky. You know,
Right.
True, true.
it's just a great, the lines coming to cross over on that triangle is great. Leads you right to the triangle on the bottom of the middle.
It does.
I find it amazing that someone out of the blue can figure out where that was taken.
I've taken pictures of that before.
That's right.
Oh.
We
Gotta
did a
hang out
shoot
there
there
more
one time, and I think it was about negative space or minimalism. I'm trying to remember, but I remember taking pictures of this.
I've been there a bunch of times.
It's
I don't-
it's look
I-
up, look down thing, you know?
Yeah, I guess. Looks like a ship.
Does.
A window. Part of a window. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Just the simplicity of it, and the curve and the two lines coming off, just really pretty.
It is
The
memorable.
curving line.
Such a pretty color water.
Color of the water sets off the silver gray and the white grays and it's very pretty. Nice complementary colors. So like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
nice.
is also Susan working with her new phone.
Yeah, I like it.
Wow.
That's really good minimalism, don't you think?
Very simple.
I like the
Yes.
curve coming off the bottom right corner, coming up is beautiful.
It's also abstract.
Yes.
Very lovely. Did a good job of that one.
Ooh.
Creepy.
Mm.
Ira has creepy pictures like that, don't you, Ira?
Yeah, he does.
He does.
Well, it's not a live spider because it has hooks for hanging.
No, good point.
What is it?
Good point.
This is really a dangerous spider with those.
That picture is mine. That was at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. They had this huge white wall, I mean, huge, and this huge black spider on it. And I thought it was, I took it from the second floor looking down, and I thought it was like a wow thing. It was like unbelievable, kind of a monster on the wall.
Look at the
Yeah.
fish hook. Look at the fish hook on the bottom and the reflection that's coming off
Like the reflection.
on the shadow, the hooks.
Mhm.
Wow.
I like the
That's
light in the center and the top and the bottom where it's darker. Vivian, you're doing some great work.
In this case, man,
Ira, thank you.
unless you want to.
Well, that's what she was
Yeah.
mentioning. So is that what she wanted to show?
Yeah.
Good. It's just a little skinny for me.
That's just what I was gonna ask to see if she did that intentionally. Was that an intentional crop to make it a little bit more panoramic like in terms of the vertical?
No, I was trying to make it wider on my iPhone, but I did not succeed. So
Okay.
I sent
So it
it
was shot in the pano mode on the
I'm sorry?
iPhone?
on my iPhone. That was
Yeah.
done with a 7.
Not
Oh.
Pano. She
Okay,
doesn't.
Not Pano, doesn't
No.
have it.
No, I don't have, no.
No, don't worry, I'm on a 6. It's even older.
Well, Susan just went, the one who took this from a 6 to a 12.
Yes,
So,
and there's a huge difference
yeah,
in the
so
cameras in
you have
these
to
two
do, it's a
phones.
learning curve for what you can achieve with the
Oh,
camera.
yeah. I would have bought the 12 except of the shutdown, and I didn't see any huge use for it.
Yeah.
So now I'm calmly waiting for the 13.
Right.
May I say something, one thing? Eileen, great webpage this year. And thank you so much for the virtual show we had. And I thank you personally, you know what I mean? And Adrian, what can we say? You are the club, you are the best. We all appreciate you, you know.
Wouldn't have a club without all of you.
Thank you.
Everybody's doing
Adrian,
work.
and
So
You're
she's
welcome. And I'll
Thank you.
positive
hear from-
space? Harvey,
Yes.
she's positive space?
Not minimalism.
Yeah.
Just space.
No, maximalism in this organization. I know she doesn't like club, so we're going to call it the photo discussion group.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And
you.
you
Thank
will hear
you.
from me during the summer.
Good
Thanks,
session.
Michelle.
Thank you,
Okay,
Adrian.
thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Adrian.